First, the bad news. A decade of political gridlock has made us an international pariah over climate inaction, and it's sent power prices soaring gracefully skywards. The good news, ordinary Aussies have filled the policy void with sweet, sweet rooftop solar. From 0.2% in 2007, a world-beating 21% of Aussie households are now brewing their own sky juice. Delicious. And rooftop solar's not just a planet saver, it's a money spinner. If you have a mid-sized rig, piping excess power back into the grid can earn you up to $900 a year. But you know how you can't have too much of a good thing? Well, the AEMC respectfully disagrees.
The grid was designed to send power from these power stations near coal mines into the cities. But the emerging problem is that as more and more houses come onto the grid, we're going to be telling houses, sorry, you can't come on because we haven't put on the extra lanes, really, if you're going to use the traffic analogy.
So to ease the gridlock, the regulator's hoping to slug solar customers that feed their excess power back into the grid up to $70 a year for the aforementioned mid-sized rig.
Over the last summer, solar provided nearly twice as much electricity into the East Coast network as gas power. And the last thing we want to do is make it harder for Australians to lower their bills, provide energy, create those jobs and lower emissions.
But someone's got to pay, and right now non-solar customers are footing the bill, around $25 a year, which doesn't seem fair either.
Ultimately, at the highest level, we don't have a plan, and without a roadmap here, it's no surprising that we're facing traffic jams.
For a sunburnt country, the future's clearly solar, but in the policy-free present, have our pollies passed the buck?
Well, AEMC Chief Executive Ben Barr is a powerful man, and he joins us now. OK, Ben, now, Waleed gave it a decent crack, but let's be honest, he failed. So what is the current issue?
Thanks, Lisa. So, the current issue is Australians love solar on their rooftops. We've gone from 0.2% of Australians having solar on their roof in 2007 to 20% now. And we're looking at 50% of Australians having solar on their roof in the next 10 years. But what that's doing is the grid was set up to get power to your house, not power from your house. And we're seeing what we're calling congestion or traffic jams. And that means that people can't get their power into the grid. And also the system as it currently is isn't fair or equitable, because if you got on early, that's great. But we're seeing in places like Victoria now, where if you want to connect your solar PV and the grid can't handle it, you might not be allowed to export anything into the grid, which doesn't help the environment, doesn't help the consumer, and doesn't help everybody else. And that's what we're aiming to solve with these reforms that we've announced today.
So how would a tariff actually fix it?
Yeah, so the two-way pricing is one part of the reforms. There's three key elements. One is actually getting poles and wires businesses to invest in the technology to get more solar PV and batteries onto the grid. The second is give them some options to use what we've got more effectively. And what we've modelled in the report is if you do this in a way where you're actually a reward for customers, feeding it in when the grid needs it, and also, potentially a charge to say we don't need it at that time. That can benefit everyone. The final part of the reforms is protections. So the regulator will sign off on any changes. There'll be consultation with households and retailers before this takes effect.
Ben, aren't we basically talking about charging people for producing too much power? So, can't we fix the grid to take advantage of that instead?
That's absolutely one of the solutions. And so how the poles and wires grid has been set up is build poles and wires, get the power to your house. What we want to do for the first time is allow them to move money into what I would call like the Google Nest for the network, a smarter grid that can get more energy on. So that's one part of the solution. But we want to have this package because that'll get the best benefit of those poles and wires we've got now, which means all customers should benefit.
Well, no doubt we'll be speaking to you again. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for your time.
I don't know about anybody else. Gee, that seems unfair. We put solar panels on our roof 2 years ago, but everything that they promised us looks like it's going to get overturned. Do you guys have solar panels?
No, I don't, but I really wanted to, and I still might just because I like solar power, but this strikes me as a discouragement.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't you want to save the planet, Waleed?
Yeah, of course I do.
Well,
but
then you should just do it.
OK, fair enough. I'll just shut up. I I was just thinking that I was more concerned about Lisa not getting the rebates that she's relying on in order to get by in life.
Scratch out a living.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people who do.
No, it's not a trivial point you're making, Lisa. It really isn't. Yeah.
We moved house a couple of years ago. We had them at our old house, but we felt like we weren't getting the value.
Really?
But I still, we still want to save the planet.
Yeah, exactly. This is what no one's asked me, and I'm not answering.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.